Okay, if you joined us in part 1, we looked at starting with the discussion forum. Now we're going to look at the journal, which is a direct assignment that you send to your instructor. So by now you should have been familiar with starting up a Python 3 console on pythoninywhere.com, which is free. And here I'm going to start right off by doing the first question in the journal, which is to do a print statement with one of the quotation marks missing. So it's important that you try this in the compiler to get experience, in the interpreter to get experience, and copy out the error message that you get. So I'm going to be doing that right now. As you can see, I'm using a long sentence for the string just to fully test out how this would work. And here we have the error that's created. And you'd copy this off and you'd have some notepad or sticky notes that you can just simply paste the information on. It's going to be too difficult to try to type this out, and you really want to get it looking as original from the screen as possible. So I'm going to cut this out or copy this. Control C on the keyboard because there's no menu in the console. And then I'll find a document that I can paste it into. You can use just notepad.com. It's free and you don't need to sign up or register. And I'm just pasting it there. So this will be the first entry that you'll make for your journal because you'll need to comment on this. So the sequence is that you do an experiment, copy the code in, and then you talk about the results, whether it works, it didn't work, and why it didn't work. Of course, you'd have read some of the textbook, chapter 1, and maybe a little bit of chapter 2 to help you understand it. So here are the questions. I'm just displaying them for you to just look at here. And you're supposed to have the Python output, as I just mentioned a while ago, which is exactly what we're showing you here. This is showing you the output. Syntax error, yes, it didn't work, but that is still output. It gives us information to tell us what went wrong. So this is our first example, and we want to make sure that we have it accurately down. All right, so this is the basic pattern that we're going to be following. All right, let's look at the next thing that we're supposed to be doing. Okay, so this is the first one, trying to print a string by leaving out a quotation mark. I'm going to go ahead and try something else. Please try to follow along. Make sure you pause the video. You go onto pythoninywhere.com if you need to code and get the practice and experience for yourself, which I highly recommend that you do that. You will notice that I will make some notes as to how you will respond. I'm not going to give you the full thing because obviously that would be a conflict that you might want to try to use those words, and it's going to be a problem if several persons watching this video try to use that language. But everybody would start out by saying it gives a syntax error, and after saying it gives a syntax error, then you say something more about that. What does that mean? Just say it in your own words and it will be fine. But you have to start out by saying it produces a syntax error, or somewhere in the response you give, you must mention syntax error because it's obviously on the screen. Now, I tried a second way of printing because it said to try it without one or both quotes. So when I don't have any quotes, it gives me the error not defined. Okay, just to give a little heads up preview of that. When you use a print statement with a word inside the bracket, Python thinks you're trying to store something in the memory in what is called a variable. I won't go too much in depth with that, but you can look up in the textbook to see more about that in chapter 2 if you're interested. But you can see it doesn't run, but it gives us a different error. So the first one, when we had one quotation mark, it said that yes, EOL while scanning string literal. This time it says name error. It doesn't just say syntax error. So that's not the same kind of error. So when you have no quotation marks at all, it gives you a totally different type of error. Okay, so remember that these codes are not supposed to work because our instructor asked us to intentionally make sure to introduce errors into the program so that it would not run, so that we can learn from mistakes before we make them in the real world, I suppose. So again, you want to make your general response. Say something about the name error. If you're trying the second one, that is, not defined, and but you say something else about it, because I said more than just what you see here. Okay, I'm just giving you a general template that you can work from to form your answers that you will type to your instructor, right? But you can't just put the output. You have to say something, explain what's happening, talk about it, and so on. Okay? Alright, so hope this helps you to get this first part started. I'll try to make a follow-up for the rest of that, but this is the basic way that you approach the problem. You get the code in, you copy out the output, and then you comment on what happens.